listen, we have a lot to discuss. Yesterday was one of the busiest days you could possibly have outside an election day.
That's right.
True.
So let's talk to our buddy Laura Ingraham. She, of course, Fox News contributor, the editor-in-chief of Life Zet. Laura, let's start with this. Ted Cruz threw a Hail Mary yesterday by the name of Carly Fiorina. Obviously, it's because of Indiana, right?
Yeah, well, I think
California.
It's actually the best. Yeah, I think it's probably the best thing that Cruz could have done. I mean, I can't think of what else he could have done, which could have at least diverted the news and the news media from the narrative of 5-state win for Trump. I mean, that was a rough night the other night. And I think Ted Cruz has been preparing for this for some time. They're very close. Carly Fiorina has been a stalwart defender of Cruz on the campaign trail. She has been very effective against Hillary. The only thing I thought was maybe a little slightly odd is Cruz keeps saying, well, she's the most effective against Hillary. Well, don't we want Cruz to be the most effective against Hillary? So, you know, I think it's a smart move on his part. I'm not sure it makes all that much difference in Indiana, and we'll see.
But you know what it shows, Laura? It shows that the media is playing it fair. When he became the story, he swamped Trump. Trump has been the story because of the things he's said, good, bad, controversial, interesting, his background, whatever it is.
Good point, Brian.
So here is Ted Cruz saying the media's got us alone, they want to put this narrative. No, you had a great tease at 11, you delivered at 4, it became the story at night.
Yeah, and he did what Trump has done in the past. He had about a 40-minute, it seemed like about 40-minute speech before Carly Fiorina came on, part introducing her and part putting out his vision for America. I mean, this is politics. You have to use the leverage that you have when you have it. And yesterday, he did what I think he needed to do to try to reorient this conversation politically. After 6 losses in a row, it's not been a great run for him in the last few weeks, and he had to change that narrative.
Yeah, and so that's what's happening in the Cruz camp. Then you had Trump. Trump goes to Indiana. He gets Indiana's favorite man to campaign with him, Coach Bobby Knight. Take a listen to this, and we'll get your reaction.
Because I think, you know, I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. And I've always voted because I think that voting is a special thing that we have in this country that isn't in a lot of different countries. But I've always voted for the person that I thought was the best for the job. And there's no question. There's no question in my mind that the man sitting between the two of us is far and away the best person to lead America back where we all want to be led. And that's the guy that can do it right here. Let me say another thing about Mr. Trump. And I think we're a little bit alike in that regard. If we're involved in something where we want to win, and particularly something that's necessary, if there's something out there where we need to win, we're going to try and beat your every time we can.
We were ready for some bleeps, weren't we?
Yeah. And Bobby Knight told a story where Bobby Knight called Donald Trump a number of months ago and said, look, I want to endorse you. You're my guy. If you ever need me, let me know. And apparently in the last week or two, Donald Trump said, hey, Bobby, I'm going to Indiana. You want to hitch a ride on my 757?
Well, again, Trump has this way of reclaiming the spotlight or driving a media cycle as well. And when you think of Knight and what he represented to Indiana, not this drive to victory, the drive to win above all else, politically incorrect. He routinely, and Brian, you remember this better than anyone, you go back and watch those old clips of Bobby Knight taking on the media. I mean, one of my favorite things is when if someone's interviewing him, he says, you don't know anything about basketball. You have no idea what you're talking about. And it was so refreshing because Knight was Knight, and his players loved him. So in the left-wing media, of course, all day yesterday, it was the bullies team up. Trump and Knight, the bullies. But for a lot of other people, it's not bullies. They're beloved.
Yeah, they call themselves
fighters.
winners.
Yeah, they're fighters, but they fight against the bullies. either the inanity of the press or
Right.
the unfair, politically correct analysis of the day. So they are similar in that regard. They have a similar mentality when it comes to winning, and I think a lot of people really respect that in the namby-pamby, gender-neutral world that we live in. Both of them come across as alpha males, and I think a lot of men and women kind of find that refreshing out there.
What's the end game? Winning. How we get there. That's what people have a problem with both men at different times. You know what? They don't seem to care. I'm going to add this to this. It looks as though I thought it was very interesting that Donald Trump didn't come up with a nickname for Carly and Cruz and have and make it a big deal. He just said it doesn't. He said it in an intellectual way. Doesn't seem like a good thing. It doesn't seem like a major thing. It doesn't seem like the right thing. But he moved on. I thought that tactically was a good move, being that the female vote, those detractors wanted to see if he was going to go off on another woman situation.
Yeah, no, he can't do that. I mean, I was at the foreign policy speech yesterday, which a lot of people on the left and a lot of the neoconservatives on the right are poo-pooing the speech. But I think, again, Trump has a better sense of where the average person is when it comes to our foreign policy priorities than any of the news media will ever understand. They never understood his rise. They never predicted it. They were always denigrating him and kicking him to the curb. But what does he do? He goes out there and says, look, we've made mistakes on both the right and the left, the Republicans and Democrats. We now need a foreign policy that works for America. The American worker, the American family. We're going to be strong, but we're not going to be stupid. And he'll fill out, I'm sure, more of the specifics that everyone seems to be craving today. But he's clearly turning a page away from Bush, away from Obama, to a new type of foreign policy. That was, I think, a very consequential speech. And all the right people, in my mind, are denigrating that today. Again, they still don't get it.
Of course. All right, let's move from the campaign to culture. A young woman by the name of Alexis Bloomer, she's in the millennial generation. She pulled over a car. She'd been thinking about some of the things she had seen. She got her camera out, and she taped this, which has been seen by 41 million people.
As a millennial, I took it upon myself to try to evaluate what's so wrong with our generation and why they're so mad at us. And then I pretty much realized that we're just existing. We're not really contributing anything to society. We don't respect our elders. We don't even respect our country. We're lazy. We're really entitled. And we want to make a lot of money and have free education, but we're not really willing to put in the work. We're more divided as a country than ever before. And I think our generation actually has a lot to do with that. Everything that used to be frowned upon is now celebrated.
So she joined us earlier, Laura.
It all happened at a post office. I saw an elderly man walking in limping, and these two boys ran past him, and it really rubbed me the wrong way because I was always taught to, if there's an elder, you always open the door for them. Doesn't matter how old they are. And you respect them and you take the time to just make them feel special. That's what you do. And it should be expected. But I guess I didn't really expect this to go viral at all because I thought it was something, like I said, that was expected from society. It shouldn't go viral because it's something we're all taught to do. But I just had to tell people, and I tried to, it was a call to action more than a rant. It was telling all of us that we should step up and prove people wrong and be the better generation and not go out with such a bad reputation.
Laura, isn't she just like a great example of what millennials, what we want our millennials to be like?
The cliches are all coming to my mind, but breath of fresh air. I mean, as someone, I have a lot of great millennials working for me at LifeSet, and because we sit around and we chat and we say, well, remember that kid who came in and the first question he asked was, I have a snowboarding trip scheduled in a couple of weeks, so like, is it cool for me to take that time off if I start like tomorrow? And I said, actually, it's not cool. So we see this a lot. And also, when you're on a bus or a subway, how many times have you all seen an elderly person walk in and no one get up and give up his or her seat, an able-bodied young person? How many times? I see it a lot.
You're right.
All right. I do think that this is the same generation who gave this incredible military.
Right.
Okay, Brian, you take away all the fun of this segment. Yes, of course there are great millennials, but she's making a point about basic civility, basic manners. Look, we all need to do better. Lord knows I do. But it's nice to have someone from that generation say, look, we can do better. And look, all generations, my generation, we all can do a lot better.
100%.
All right, Laura, you got 50 minutes before your radio station takes your show. Go to your radio show. Go edit LifeSet. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Laura. Always great to see you.